Okay, I'm live, and I want to say thank you for tuning in tonight. Tonight, we're going to be talking about the practice of ancient masonry. But I know if you was on the community page, it was the show was being titled "Spies Among Us" or something like that. But I rethought about the whole concept. So we might touch on it a little bit, but tonight we're going to talk about the ancient practice of Freemasonry. Let me tell you why we're going to do that tonight. We're going to talk about customs of Freemasonry that are no longer customs. We're going to talk about things that was once part of Freemasonry, but is no longer part of Freemasonry because of various jurisdictions and their changing of the way they do business or whatever it may be. But when you think about customs and the ancient Freemasonry, you think of things that are no longer practiced. Ancient means things that are no longer practiced, or if they are still in practice, they're not practiced in their pure form. So tonight we're going to talk about the ancient practice of Freemasonry. And the reason I chose this topic tonight is because as I was reading the ancient primitive rites of Memphis Mizraim, and as I was reading Mars and Dogma by Albert Pike, I began to see something different within the degree work of both constructs, meaning that in the degree work of Albert Pike in Dogs and in the Dogs and Magma, I found that it was all based off of primitive rights. The very group and organization for which he demised, he couldn't stand. He said they was bogus. It was all based upon their system. And I want to say I can prove it to you by just opening a ritual and showing you, but you would actually have to be a member of the primitive rights to actually see that. But I'm saying this because as I grow into Freemasonry, as I move forward in this life journey, I'm finding things, how they say, the longer you live, the more truth you find, and the things you've been told has been a big lie to you, per se. So tonight we're going to have this conversation about the ancient practice of Freemasonry because I think those things have been lost because of the various jurisdictions. It's not about your charter or anything like that. It's not about where you got it from or none of that. It's just simply on the practice of Freemasonry, for which we know. And I would dare to say this: if you are practicing Freemasonry, it has none of your culture in it, something is wrong. If you are a Black Mason and you are practicing Freemasonry and you don't see yourself in Freemasonry, something is wrong. So tonight we're going to talk about the ancient practice of Freemasonry. So if you please join us, I certainly would appreciate that. Please hit the thumbs up button. I would like, oh wow, okay. So look, I want to send the Light Traveler a big shout out tonight. Thank you for your contribution and your donation. I really appreciate it. And while I'm on it, for those of you who took the opportunity to hit me up in regards to the passport. If you have received your Masonic passport from me, let me know. I've sent out about maybe 10 of these already. And definitely, this is the last one left. If you would like to receive it, you're just going to have to email me at jgjafam@yahoo.com if you want to receive this passport. And I would definitely hit you back in regards to it. Okay, so if you want a passport, definitely hit me up and we'll get this back over to you. I think it's one of the better passports that you can have as you travel as a Freemasonry. I like it. It's very heavy. It's very sturdy. You can definitely put your picture here, the date you was initiated, passed, and raised. I think it's a great passport to have when you're going about your business. So definitely hit me up if you're interested in a passport at jgjafam. So tonight we're going to talk about the ancient customs of Freemasonry. What are those ancient customs of Freemasonry? We're going to get into that because, like I said, in doing my own reading in regards to Dogs and Magma by Albert Pike and being initiated into the ancient primitive rites and having the ritual at my disposal and reading it, it's if Freemasonry doesn't look like you, and it doesn't have any of your culture in it, something is wrong. I don't care who you are. If you're from India, if you're Japanese, Chinese, whatever, if you are practicing Freemasonry and it doesn't look like you have any of your culture in it, something is wrong. Plain and simple. It's not about rocket science. This is not about, oh, I got you. None of that. And I say that because based upon my own reading. If you are a Mason, you should be one who's indulged in reading and practicing and really seeing Freemasons from a different standpoint than anybody else. I don't care if you can pick up a book and read it from cover to cover, any Masonic ritual you want to. But until you have been initiated in those rites and practices of those particular degrees, it's for naught. Maybe it may be because you want to know a little knowledge, insight on Freemasonry, but the experience of being initiated is one of the most incredible experiences you can have. And hey, how you brothers? And oh yeah, John, what's going on with you? Appreciate it. You coming on. So, in looking at that, I just want you to really, really, really consider what I've just said. So as you tune in tonight and you get in the chat room, please hit the thumbs up button. I certainly would appreciate it. What I would like to try to do before the end of the year, the goal is to add an extra 1,000 subscribers to the channel. I would like to add an extra 1,000 subscribers to the channel. I believe, based on the feedback I've personally gotten, is that for those who are practicing Freemasonry, they feel that the channel really benefits them, that they have learned a lot. And definitely, if that is true, hey, spread the word. Spread the word. What's up, Terrell? How you doing, bro? I appreciate you tuning in tonight. So as we begin to talk about the ancient practices of Freemasonry, African Lodge, and I say African Lodge for a particular reason. Why would you name your lodge African Lodge? And you're not practicing anything dealing with Africa. And I say that based upon the time of African Lodge, 1 African Lodge 359, whatever number you want to give it. I'm saying that the lodge was named African Lodge for a particular reason. And I believe it was named that because those who participated in it were former slaves, or maybe freemans, and I believe that they felt that it was necessary to name that lodge African Lodge. Just my personal opinion based upon my own information, things I've read. But as we continue to talk about the ancient customs of Freemasonry, if you have a Dogs and Magma, open the book up and see what it says. And I guarantee you will have a different perspective on Freemasonry, because a lot of it is veiled in allegories and signs and symbols, which is meant to hide things from the unknown. And when I say that, the one who has not been initiated, how can you read something and without being initiated into it and then say, okay, I understand it? No, you would definitely have to go through the process. So I encourage you to read Dogs and Magma if you have one. To go back and have a better understanding of what Albert Pike was trying to convey. And I would dare say this, that even with that being said, Albert Pike himself, who said that the primitive rites was not even considered Freemasonry, took a lot, I would say over 80% of the information he is putting into Dogs and Magma comes from the ancient primitive rites. It is a fact based on my initiation through those degrees and reading and having it at my disposal. It is what it is. You can say it, you can take it, you can let it alone, but it is so true. So greetings everybody. What's up, Bishop? How you doing? So let's take a look at the word ancient. The word ancient means something that has been practiced a long time ago. It is not practiced in its purest form. And with that being said, for most of us, we would say that we're practicing free and accepted Masons. So what is free and accepted Masons. Go and check that out. Then those of us who have practiced ancient free and accepted Masons. So this is where we're at tonight. And I say that because when I've looked at the practices of ancient masonry, it looks nothing like the type of masonry that I practice here in the United States. It doesn't. It doesn't look like it at all. And what we have added in the Masonic or in the Masonic jurisdiction here in California, John G. Jones, is a ancient practice. We have added it for ourselves. We've done that for us because we say we're ancient, free, and accepted Masons, and we didn't get no charter from Europe. No, we didn't. But since we say that we're ancient, free, and accepted Masons, we felt it was necessary to add an ancient custom into our jurisdiction. We did that for us. So it looks like us. It feels like us in the practice of ancient, free, and accepted Masons. So when you come in and when the lodge is opening, it opens nothing like your Leicester look to the east, your Duncans, and your other European Masonic rituals. It doesn't. It looks nothing like it because we have added that ancient feel to it for us because this is what we say we practice. And I would say this here for those of you who know and you've been outside of this country, the way other jurisdictions open and govern themselves is nothing like you do over here in the United States. There are some similarities, but it's nothing like that. Now, some of you would say, "Well, Hawkins, how would you say that? How do you know that?" And I would tell you, based upon my own travels. When I've traveled and I talked about my Hispanic brothers, they have their own flavor. It's them. When they go into their meetings and they practice Freemasonry, it's about them. It's their customs. Is what they bring into Freemasonry. Would like to get into Masonry here in Detroit, just don't have anyone to bring me in. Well, it just depends on what when you say you like to get into Freemasonry, brother, Detroit is the hub. It's one of the hubs. I mean, you don't have nobody to bring you in. I mean, what is it that you're looking for when you say you like to come into Freemasonry? That's the question. That's the question. Moors and dogma. Yeah, Lewis. So, I say this because those of you who have, yeah, we'll talk a little bit more about it. So, for those of you who have multiple books, like Brother Lewis has, the brother has an extensive library on Freemasonry. He does. He and I have talked, and I can say, based upon our conversation, he shared books with me that I've written, that I've actually gone and ordered because of that. I can clearly say that it is an ancient custom of Freemasonry that most of us don't practice, and that is primitive rites. There is an ancient custom of Freemasonry we don't practice because it's not been availed to us. It is not an opportunity that most of us can go and get. So we don't have it. But I would definitely say, look, if you have the opportunity to join the primitive rites or customs and see it for yourself, do it. Do it, because it's gonna show you something different that you don't necessarily get in the European style of Freemasonry. And I would say this: you who practice Freemasonry, back to it again, it should look like you. It should feel like you. So when you go in, you say you're practicing ancient, free, and accepted Masons, or even free and accepted Mason. Does it feel like you? Does it look like you? Does it have an added to it that is mysterious, has a mystique to it? Or is it just, oh, I'm part of this club? Because if you know anything about ancient customs, once again, there are many groups that was around that is no longer around as far as societies are concerned. One being the Essenes, a distinguished group of gentlemen that the Christ of the Messiah claimed or there's been stated that he was a part of. The Essenes was a group that dealt in the mystics of Freemasonry. The Essenes was a group that was off to themselves. They dressed differently from anybody else. The Essenes was a group of men who carried themselves in such a unique way that others tried to emulate it, but they had not yet been initiated into the priesthood. So therefore, they couldn't get the real feel for what it was like to be a part of the Essenes. If you go and get the book Haram Abiff, the Keys of Haram Abiff, if I'm not mistaken, this book extensively talk about the Essenes and who they were. It talks about their practice of the mystics. If you don't think they was practicing the mystics, you are totally wrong. I would say that you're wrong, because you need to go and read about who were they and what did they practice. Why did they go about like they did? They practice those things that we no longer engage in because we think it's voodooism, and we think it's this or we think it's that. Haram's Key. There you go, Brother Lewis. Thank you. Haram's Key. It's a great book. Go get Haram's Key. Go get it. If you don't have it and it's not a part of your library, make that part of your library. Those gentlemen who wrote that book were not Masons, but after doing their own research, they became Masons. They became Masons. I'll tell you something else that most of us didn't notice is that when what's my guy name? Oh shucks. It'll come to me later. I'm trying to think of his name. Manly P. Hall. Okay. Manly P. Hall, before he even became a Mason, he was lecturing on the metaphysics. He was lecturing on the philosophies. He was doing a lot of lecturing. And anybody can go and see Manly P. Hall give these lectures. You could. Manly P. Hall was at a whole different level when it came to the philosophies and ancient customs and a whole lot of other stuff. He was ahead of the curve. But once Manly P. Hall became a Mason, the public no longer was able to view Manly P. Hall from a lecturer point of view. They wasn't. He only lectured for Freemasonry after he became a Mason. And I think that was probably one of the biggest mistakes that could have been made. That's in my own opinion. If you have any of Manly P. Hall's writings, he was ahead of the curve. He broke things down very symptomatic. But because he joined Freemasonry, he was made an honorary member in the Freemasons. And he began to lecture Freemasons upon his own study and wealth of knowledge in regards to Freemasonry itself. You couldn't go see him. You couldn't. From all the way from the Enter Apprentice to that of the 33rd and a lot of other degrees that Manly P. Hall have talked about and lectured about is not available to the public. It's not. Because he gave those lectures to the Freemasons. He lectured them in their particular jurisdiction. His best work is on the occult sciences, we're over 20 years old before he was even initiated. That's what I'm saying. So when you think that you have Freemasonry on lockdown, when you think that you know it all, you don't. There are so many different doors into Freemasonry. The rabbit hole runs deep. Drop some crumbs, because once you have found certain things in Freemasonry, it makes you rethink. Hear me clearly. Once you have found certain things in Freemasonry, it makes you rethink. So I would tell the initiate as he begins his journey in Freemasonry, take your time. Just become proficient in the Q&A. Don't try to wrap your mind around the esoteric side of Freemasonry. First of all, just learn clearly the basic Q&A. Once you've gotten that, and you've gotten the other aspects of that, then and only then, after you have become a master mason, I would then encourage you to go back and look at the works for which you have been brought into from another perspective, which is the esoteric side of Freemasonry. But before that, I wouldn't do it, because most people on that first journey that they take within Freemasonry, if it is broken down to you esoterically, you may not want to be a Christian anymore. Plain and simple, you may not. There's a whole lot you discover on your journey into Freemasonry that many who practice Christianity, and I said practice Christianity, they no longer do. They don't. I was speaking with my pastor a few days ago when he came here to California to visit, and I was speaking to him, and I said, Pastor, he's like, what's going on, Brother Hawkins? I asked him this question for myself. I asked him, why is it that most ministers, no, not most, why is it that the ministers do not teach the truth? And he was like, well, what do you mean, the truth? I said that your doctorate, you have a doctorate in African American studies or African history. You have a doctorate. You know. And plus, you have gone to theology school. You've done these things, you know. And I said, I know for myself, based upon my own small research, that the practice of Christianity has been told and retold over and over again. And I know its essence and where it started from. I said, why you never tell people about that? Why the church never speak about the Council of Nicene? And this, I mispronounced that last word. The Council of, it'll come back to me. That last word will come back to me. If somebody can kind of help me out with it, I'll be happy. But I'm trying to think of the council that came together. Yes, thank you there, bro. I appreciate that. Why they don't do that? And he said, if they knew, people would stop going to church. He straight told me that. He told me this, and I've been knowing this minister over 20 years. As a matter of fact, when I got to California, I joined his church after being here for 2, maybe 3 years. So I've been a part of that same church. And he straight told me that people won't go to church. If we told people that, and he was like, and I was like, oh, okay. Because a lot of people in finding out different information, it would mess them up. So I would tell you this, as you begin your journey into Freemasonry and practicing these things we call the ancient customs and practicing Freemasonry, and in your discovery, as you begin to pour out that which you thought was truth, and then you begin to discover other truth, please pour some water in the glass. Please pour some water in the glass. Because to take something from someone and not add anything to it or to replace it really causes chaos in that person's life. This is why they say out of chaos comes one. Out of chaos comes one. So let's see. That's why some people believe Freemasonry is a secret to Christianity. So when you say that, I would say this, Brother Terrell, Christianity was given that name. It was never Christianity as we know it today. That name was given to them. And it's Christianity within its own construct has been splintered and broken up and done so much into a lot of the truths have been lost. Really, you have to go back and begin to search this thing for yourself. Everything you need to succeed is in you. It's truth. And when you come to a clear understanding of that, it changes your perspective in regards to Freemasonry and those things around you. It really does. You don't see things the same way. Most people go all their years being a Mason and never experience or see it differently than the way they first came in. In my growth as a Mason, I don't see it the same way as when I first come in. I don't. I really don't. I can't, because of my growth, because of where I've been in my journey and my travels. I cannot see it the same way when I first came in. It is not this one big happy family. There are multiple jurisdictions within Freemasonry spread it throughout the world. I would say this: if I was part of mainstream Grand Lodge, my limitation in Freemasonry would be hindered. I'm going to say it again. If I was a member of mainstream Grand Lodge or Prince Hall, or, and I'm going to tell you why I say that. My experience and my travels in Freemasonry would be limited, because Prince Hall and the Grand Lodge's estate mirrors each other. And I feel that it limits the Mason from experiencing and going into other initiated rites. Now, we all know that mainstream Grand Lodges have what you call college degrees. They have what you call college degrees. You can go look this up for yourself. And their college degrees is nothing more than primitive rites, ancient Mizraim. That's what it is. But they don't tell you that. And for those of you who are probably mainstream members who are here on this channel, if I'm lying, just say, no, that's not true. And then for those of you who think I'm lying, go look it up for yourself. See, I'm not going to give you information where you can't go find it, look it up for yourself, come up with your own truth to it. I can't. This is my own discovery. And in talking with quite a few of my Prince Hall brothers, and yeah, I said Prince Hall brothers, I've discovered a lot of different truths. You know, there's a few in here tonight, and you know exactly who you are. We've had these conversations. And I say that because when you are limited in where you can go and practice Freemasonry, in the information that you can get and read and share in your lodges, when you are limited, then you are limiting yourself in Freemasonry. To travel into foreign countries and to receive master wages as such. And when you have a different perspective, when it says traveling to foreign countries and receive master wages, it has a different vibe when you're not limited. And I say that I'm not limited. Based upon my own travels, I am not limited. I would say this here in the United States, because of the construct of Freemasonry, it limits everyone. You're probably saying, well, why would you say that? Because if you remember international, you're not going to visit Prince Hall. Period. They're not going to let you in. That's a limit. If you're a member of Prince Hall, you're not going to visit international or modern free or modern free, however you want to put it. You're not coming visiting me. So, and I'm not coming visiting you. Well, I have, but but you're not, because you're limited. And when you're limited, then you don't get all the rights and benefits of Freemasonry, not just your lodge, but of Freemasonry. So when we're talking about practicing the ancient custom of Freemasonry, it frees a person up to see Freemasonry from a different form, from those ancient arts, lights and rights and benefits that have been lost. And you go back and you say, wow, does Freemasonry look like me? Does it feel like me? When I go to my meetings, does it have a flavor for me? Being here in the United States, we know that it has that it has a European style, a heavy Christian base of Freemasonry is in Freemasonry here in the United States. That's a fact. Although we may say that Freemasonry has nothing to do with religion, it has everything to do with religion if you're here in the United States, because it has a Christian base. And it's true. You have St. John's Day and St. John's Day the Evangelist and St. John's Day the Baptist. Where do you go? You go to church. From my Hispanic brothers, they don't do that. From my brothers from Haiti, they don't do that. Because I visit and I'm like, well, that's deep. So I would say in my jurisdiction where I'm at now, we have added some of those things to give it a feel for us. Since we say we're ancient free, our charter didn't come from England. No, it did not. I know nothing about it. But the custom that we practice, we've added those customs in because they're African customs. These are the things that you will find over in Africa. As far as initiations, there are many different secret societies that we know nothing about here in the United States. And for those of you who have the various books on secret society, you know it. There's a lot of secret societies out and abroad that is not practiced here in the United States. It's true. King James Version is just that, a version used to fit the narrative of the victor of that time. Absolutely. But you can't tell everybody that, Brother Vincent. Because once you begin to tell people that, you got to give them something in return. Because now you've just taken their whole essence and you gave them nothing, and it can cause chaos within them. So as you begin to take something, you must add something to them. So to say this, it really makes a person think. And I want you to think. I want you begin to go and to add to and stop just taking masonry from a European style or point of view. That's true. Because most of you would say that you're traveling east. Most of you Masons would say you're traveling east, and you don't even know why you say it. And you know, we could talk about that. Most of you Masons today, when, hey, brother, you know, travel east, I had to understand for myself, where did that come from? Why do we say that? And so in my own plight, in my own seeking of truth, and where did that sort of come from, I was like, okay, I got that now for me. But then here comes a young apprentice. Hadn't been in the organization 3 years good. Once he became a master mason, he came and said to me, Pastor Graham, you're not traveling east. And I was like, what are you talking about, youngster? He said, no, you ain't traveling east, Graham. And then he showed it to me in a book, in a Masonic book. He said, here you go. You ain't traveling east. So I had to go back and reevaluate. Why did I start saying that? It's because it was passed down. But then when I discovered that was the incorrect thing to say, it was just wrong, I was like, okay, I got it now. So, peace and blessings, CV builders. But seizure is who she thinks, thinks about when she visualized Jesus, the majority of the population as well. Okay, y'all done changed the narrative in this chat. But as we get on with it tonight, and the ancient practice of Freemasonry, I'm going to share this tad bit with you. And I know that my Grand Master, he doesn't want this particularly shared, but I'm not going to go into depth. I'm just going to throw it out there. Here in the United States, European Masonry, there is no north. It is supposed to say that it's dark in the north. I understand the reason that's being is because when things are dark, when there's darkness surrounding things, and it usually brings cold, and during the winter months, it represents death. Okay, it represents a part in Freemasonry. Things are dying, and the winter months, Nothing is growing. You can't harvest anything during that time. As a matter of fact, right before the winter months, if there's any crop that is left over and it can't be picked, what they do is they I don't want to say, well, sometimes they burn the crops. They burn the crops. And sometimes they reply or plow over the crops. They ply over the crops, you know. Uh, so, that's we'll get into that. But do you, Brother Vincent, do you want your phone number shown? Let me know in the chat if you want me to show your phone number. Your phone number is not being shown. There you go. It should come up. If you want to call into tonight's show, you're certainly welcome to do so, and we can have this personal discussion on the ancient practice of Freemasonry. The number to call in is going to be 619 286 0642. So if you want to call in tonight, you're certainly welcome to do so. Because like I said, there's a couple of brothers in here knows exactly what I'm talking about when we're talking about, oh, hidden in plain sight, CV Builder. Okay, definitely knows exactly what I'm talking about. And I would say this here. If you have ever gone to the Scottish Rite building in Washington, D.C., that building is very beautiful. It is. That building has a lot to do with ancient customs. Oh my God, you wouldn't believe it. And the only way you would actually know is if you understood masonry from an ancient custom uh, view. And that is the God honest truth for me to you. When you see the statues that are on top of that building that you can't see with the naked eye standing and looking up, knowing that it has a representative, that those statues represents in all four directions different cultures: African, European, um, Japanese or Asian descent, and Hispanics. It represents that, bruh. You gotta go. You gotta go see it for yourself. And the way that building is uniquely built, the geometry behind the building, the 13 stairs or the steps as you go up into the building, and the length of the building, the pillars of the building. They have more than two pillars. I think they have 6 to 7 pillars as you walk into the building. And then they have the phoenix that is there. So the building is definitely trying to tell you something. The fact of the matter is do you know what the building is trying to tell you? Do you know? I would say go check it out. Greetings, Brother Larry Diamond. Glad to have you on tonight. We're talking about the ancient practice of Freemasonry. When I was first introduced to an ancient practice of Freemasonry through my Grand Master, it was one night after we had did a initiation. The whole initiation was done differently than the previous probably 100 initiations I had been to and seen in my life, as far as what I would call the Leicester Look to the East or the Duncans or any of the written Masonic rituals that you can go and order. I did a video on that. I was so hyped after coming from Grand Session that how are you introduced into Freemasonry? I'll tell you in just a few minutes. So after that meeting that night and experiencing what I experienced in the initiation, I was hyped. My energy was way up. And I believe in that particular experience, the energy within that lodge was high. And I couldn't sleep. I came home that night and did a video. It was about 2 o'clock in the morning on the West Coast side. So I was like, wow. And there was different things that was added to the initiation to bring in a different energy. Incense, oils, the flow of the lodge, the murkisons. It was just different. the way we did it that night. And I sit back and watched. I was the acting senior warden in the lodge that evening, and my deputy grand master who was there, who was in Hosea Lodge, and the grand master who's in Aries Lodge, they just flipped the whole thing. They just they came straight. They said, Brother Hawkins, we know that you're used to doing things this way. We want to bring this in, and this is how we're going to do it. I was like, oh, well, being a past grand, I was like, hey, I'm just a regular lodge member tonight. None of the titles really matter, but you being the wishful master of Hosea Lodge and he's being the wishful master of Aries Lodge, that's an agreement that you make. And when they got done that evening and introducing some of the customs that we now have in our jurisdiction, I was blown away. And I asked my Grand Master, would he mind writing this down? He said no. He didn't write anything down. He wouldn't give me anything. I have to actually come, see it, and experience and pass it down that way. And I was kind of like upset a little bit, but he's my grand and I love him. So I was like, okay, all right, you got the upper hand on this one. Now the question was asked of me, how were you introduced into Freemasonry? Well, being from Mississippi, Freemasonry is very prevalent. I mean, you've heard the stories of people who were part of Masonry. They had their lives together, that they was prominent community members, blah, blah, blah. Boom. There you have it. That was my introduction to Freemasonry. I had read a little bit about it. I had gone to college. I had pledged. And on the evening that I was going over as a pledgee, there were brothers who was actually being initiated into Freemasonry. So in my life, being in Mississippi, it is very easy to be introduced into Freemasonry. That was my first introduction. And then from there, moving here to California, being still a seeker of light into Freemasonry. One of my co-workers wore a Masonic ring, and I asked him about it. He brought me into his lodge. That was the first lodge, and I was only there for a couple of months. And I left his lodge, and a sister of the Order of the Eastern Star seen my my Masonic key ring and asked me what lodge I was a member of, and I told her, and I told her I was no longer a part of that lodge. And she was like, well, let me introduce you to some more brothers. And she did. I was introduced to the wishful master of the lodge that I'm sitting in now, which is Hosea Lodge number 7. His name was Benjamin F. Mitchell. Well, Benjamin F. Mitchell is a former member of Prince Hall Lodge here in San Diego, which was, I'm trying to think of the name of that lodge. Gibraltar Lodge. And he had been here since the 60s. And him being a former member of Gibraltar Lodge, him and other brothers gotten together and they opened up Hosea Lodge back in the early 70s. And I was the youngest member in my lodge at the time, besides Austin. Well, we were the youngest. And these guys was just coming out of the military. They was just retiring from their second job. And we're talking 86 at the time. And I was like, okay. And these guys, for the most part, they was old enough to be my dad. And I had a joy and a blast, and I learned a lot from them. But as things began to come about, of course, brothers, of age, they passed away. And I can say I've had the privilege of knowing the original members of my lodge. And I don't know how many people can say that. And having that privilege, other youngsters come along. And when I say youngster, I mean other individuals who being desirous to become a Mason come along. And when they come along, they bring something with them. They bring a new adventure into Freemasonry with them. And that inspired me. And it's kept me in the same lodge that I've been in the same, this is the second jurisdiction that I've been in. And I've enjoyed it. So that was my introduction to Freemasonry. Yes, you're absolutely right, Lee Hall. There, you're absolutely right. Dr. Ben has been, well, he's passed away. So Dr. Ben was initiated into an ancient form of Freemasonry when he was in Africa. That is a fact. Yes, and I say that's a fact based upon information that was shared with me from Brother Johansi. And I want to encourage Brother Johansi to please continue his journey. And not only that, I want to encourage him to share and to bring forth that right. And he has the information. He has it. He does. So in having that right, I believe that he should share it. You know, I would say this to those of you who are out here who wish to become a Mason, who wish to become an Eastern Star. There are many different chapters, jurisdictions here in the United States. I would say seek them out and study and watch them. And let me tell you the reason I say seek them out, study and watch them. Because you want to be involved with a chapter or a Masonic lodge that is actively doing the works of Freemasonry, be it if it's community based, be it if it's making sure that the growth of your knowledge, be it whatever, you have to be able to fit into that lodge. You have to be able to work on a point in that chapter. You want to be part of a chapter or a lodge that gives you the freedom to enjoy the organization. If that lodge or chapter is not giving you the freedom to enjoy the organization, then it may be the wrong jurisdiction. Simple as that. It's not complicated. Are many Black Masons aware of the ancient Kemet signs and symbols are hidden in plain sight within the lodge? No, they're not. Brother Butler, C.D. Butler, Builder, my apologies, Builder. They're not aware of that. Some are very aware. And when they try to point it out, they are shunned. Brother Lewis, am I lying? C.V. Builder said, are many Black Masons aware of the ancient Kemet signs and symbols are hidden in plain sight in a lodge? He's absolutely right. But when brothers try to point that out, when they try to show that, they're shunned. And it's true. Calling of the ancestors. Absolutely. Calling the ancestors. If you have never experienced the calling of the ancestors, I don't know what to say. I've experienced it, and let me tell you, it is wild on the good side. It is. That is truth. My own personal journey. 34 years now. My son is 35, be 36 soon. It's beautiful. Calling on the ancestors. If you've never done it, you need to try it. You need to be in a place of quietness. You need to have burning candles. You need to be in a place to where your mind is at ease, deep breathing. You need to calm yourself down and begin to call on those ancestors long gone. Your mothers or your fathers, your sisters or your brothers, your aunts, your great aunts, if you know them. Begin to call them and see what happens. But you must be in a place of darkness and a place of calmness. It's not going to happen no other way. Trust me. I'm just saying, legitimately speaking, I'm telling you the truth. This is why my Hispanic brothers, they do the Day of the Dead. They do. They do a Day of the Dead, and it's beautiful. It's beautiful. But most of us will say, I'm not, what? That voodoo? No. It's an ancient custom for them. We who are African Americans in this country, we don't, collectively. I'm not going to say what we don't do. I'm trying to change that narrative. Collectively, we don't practice an ancient custom. The most ancient custom we're going to get is church. And I'm not bashing it. I'm just giving it to you because that was given to our parents and their parents and their parents. And that is going to be the most ancient custom you're going to get unless you go read and do for yourself. That's all you're going to get. Period. That's going to be your ancient custom. But once you begin to strip away that which has been passed down to you, strip it away and really get to the meat of it or the bone of it, you see those customs within our church is us. It's just been given to us in a warped way. Do you think that when you see a sister or a brother, we call it filled with the Holy Ghost or shouting? Oh, you're speaking in tongues. You can Google that right now and see the brothers and sisters over in Africa. I'm not talking about modern day where they're in the church. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about the brothers and sisters who practice this craft, who's doing the same thing. You can Google and YouTube it and you'll see. You'll be like, my Lord, really? When you begin to strip back the onions and see that the church as we see it today, this Jesus character that we see today has been told and foretold many times before we get to where we're at today. The same construct, the same thing over and over again until you get to Yahweh, Jesus, knowing that it's an ancient practice. It wasn't a Christian practice. It wasn't. But those who are in ministry are not going to tell you that. No, they're not. They're going to tell you to read the Bible. It's just what it is. But I dare you to go and search for yourself. You know, the question is, what are you in search of? What do you want? Light being your desire. Let there be light. And when you say that, that means that you individually are going to go in search of that which is lost. You're going to go in search of that. And when you discover that which is lost, you're going to have a Yahoo moment. You're going to be like, woo, Yahoo. You may even have a moment to where you may just break down and be like, damn, really? All my life I've been told X, Y, and Z. And I come to this point. Now I can't believe like I used to believe. Because it's in your hands. It's right before you. Ain't nobody telling you this. You discovered this. I'll tell you this. You can get on your knees and you can pray until sun come up. And trust me, there is nothing wrong with prayer. Absolutely. I encourage it. But I'll tell you this. When trouble arises in your life and your mom and your father is still living, you might call on God, Jesus. You know, I'm saying this. I want you to follow me. You might call on Jesus. Jesus, help me, Lord, help me, Jesus. Oh my God, help me. But you know who you're going to pick up the phone and call? Your mother and your father. Mom, I'm in jail. I need bond. Mom, I just had an accident. Those are the people you're going to call. You may say, Jesus, help me. But in the end, you're calling your mother and your father if they're still here with you. In the end, you're calling the closest person to you. In the end, you're reaching out to those who you know that can come to your aid and your rescue. You might call and say, help me, Yahweh, help me, Jesus, help me, God. But in the end, those who are closest to you, those who you know you can lean and depend on because their word is what it is, their word, you're calling them. You're not waiting on Jesus to bun you out of jail. You're calling someone that got the money to get you out. It's the truth. Your mother and your father, as a kid growing up, they're like God. As a matter of fact, they are God. They can make you go get your own switch, bring it back, and discipline you with it. That's a God mentality. Because I said so. That's a God mentality. You know what I'm saying? For real. Distress, absolutely. Distress, let me tell you. I'm not calling, if I find myself in trouble, I'm not calling someone that I don't care if he is a Masonic brother. I'm not calling him when his word is nothing. I'm not calling him when he's shisty and I know he's a Mason. I'm not calling her when I know she's not about the business. I'm calling the person that I can lean and depend on. I know this brother got the money, and he and I have been buddies for a long time. I haven't done him wrong. He hadn't done me wrong. And we have that type of relationship. Hey, bro, I need you, man. How much you need? I need this. All right, I got you. That's who you calling. You may pray. And when you get off your knees praying, you calling John. Hey, man, look, bruh. Look. Sister, look. So when we begin to look at these ancient customs and practices, please reconsider what's been told to you and what's been taught to you. Do it for yourself. And for you who still believe in, you Masons who still believe in you're traveling east, you can't go back from which you come. You can't do it. You're only traveling in one direction, and that's west. And that's a fact. Now, you may detour. You might go north for a minute, but the ultimate destination is going to be west. Some of you know exactly what I'm talking about, and some of you don't. But it's in plain sight. As Brother Builder said, CD Builder, he said it. And Brother Simply also. I've learned a lot from Brother Simply. I have. His book, Allegories, Signs, and Symbols. Man, look that brother up. He's in here tonight. Look this. I'm going to share something with you. This brother right here. And I'm going to give him a shout out tonight. He's, let me see, can I do it? Nope, it's not letting me. But hold on, I'm gonna put his name in here. He's not gonna say much, but he's in here tonight. Brother Brendan knows exactly who he is, and probably a few others. But he's in here tonight. So look this brother up, because he has a lot of information and knowledge for Masons who are coming into this organization that would greatly benefit them. It will greatly benefit them if they look them up. It would do that. Let me see. Oh, okay. So check this brother right here out. All right. I don't know if you can see it right now, but check this brother out. That brother right there, I just posted his name. Look him up. Reach out to him. Telling that brother got information. I have gotten lectures from this brother that has made me rethink a lot of things. He emailed them to me. And he would call me and question me on it. Hey, Brother Hawkins, have you read my lecture? That one I sent to you? Yeah, that one. Yeah. What are your thoughts? What did you get out of it? And you can appreciate a brother like that. Yeah, he's Prince Hall, and yeah, he's my brother. I called him my brother. Oh, we can't sit in lodge together. I don't need a lodge to learn. I need to be able to talk to somebody. And that's one of those brothers. So greetings to everybody who's coming on right now. We're only going to be on for a few more minutes. We're going right into our right up top of the hour, thereabouts. What I'm sharing with you tonight is when you talk about ancient practices or ancient customs within Freemasonry, there has been so much lost within Freemasonry until we have to go back and rediscover. You have to do that for yourself. And if your jurisdiction is not allowing you to rediscover or to go into discover, oh man, you don't need that book. Oh man, why are you reading that? Man, that's the wrong lodge. That's the wrong chapter. And in discovering these other rites in Freemasonry, such as the primitive rites, which has a separate Scottish rite body to it, man, it has just opened me up to so many different avenues within Freemasonry and the customs of Freemasonry, till I see it totally different than the average person. And that's my journey, and it will be your journey, and you will see it differently too. Heaven is under your feet of our mothers. Absolutely. The things that most of us discuss in our different jurisdictions are simple things. I said most of us are simple things. We never want to tackle the hard things, the things that make you go, the things that make you rethink, because we continue to pass down these incorrect customs within Freemasonry until you get to a point, say, oh, that man, yeah, let's go out. Let's go out and party up, dude. Let's go get wasted. No. When you begin to mature into Freemasonry, when you begin that journey and you begin to see things differently than you have ever seen them, man, everything is different. It's true. Everything is different. I encourage brothers to pick up various books and read them, because it gives you a different perspective. It gives you something that's unique in its essence, and it makes you want to go and read more. What is lost in Freemasonry is those who are in search of that which is lost, and they're not in search of that anymore. They're in search of a good time, a good party. Let's go hang out. I would tell you, when you get to a certain place in Freemasonry, your vibration is going to be different, because vibrations heals. Vibration, wow, bro, I can go so many different places with vibration and what it does to the body and what it does to the mind. It is just amazing. It's beautiful. You know, when you begin to understand the chakras and how they're involved with the spine, when you begin to see masonry, when you begin to see Christianity and Freemasonry from an astrology point of view, the S-U-N, not the S-O-N. When you begin to change the dialect and construct and replenish that which was lost back into Freemasonry, it is just beautiful. It begins to look more like me, feel more like me. My vibrations are different. My walk, my stride, my inner being is different. I don't care if you're European, add the European flavor to it. I don't care if you're British, add the British flavor to it. I'm just saying, when it begins to feel like you, it becomes you. Your walk is different. So we who practice that European style of Freemasonry, does it feel like you? Does it look like you? Does it give you a different vibe? I would beg to differ for myself and my journey, because I talk with brothers who see it from a different point of view, a different perspective, such as brother Brandon Lewis. Yeah, I called him brother. I did. And I get that different feel because of our conversations in the books that we've shared with each other. It makes you go, You don't see it from the same way when you was brought in. I don't see Freemason from the same way I was brought into it. It's totally different to me now. It's totally different. The Son of God, absolutely. You know? They want the rings, the emblems, the titles, but no knowledge. Man, they want that. And in the process of wanting the rings, in the process of wanting the emblems, the titles, there's some responsibility that comes along with it. I would say this. When I received my 33rd back in 2000, and I began to endeavor into Freemasonry more, I was like, so I'm a 33rd. What does that actually mean? So in my own study and in my own works, when you are a 33rd, when you're there, that means that you should be able to talk about and lecture on any of the aspects of Freemasonry outside of the York Rite and Scottish Rite. But you should be able to talk about it without being fearful. Most brothers of the craft and sisters of the Order of the Eastern Star are fearful of something that is introduced to them that is new, that is outside the norm. They're fearful. They're very protective. In Freemasonry, you're supposed to have a zeal. Your zeal about the craft is different. You're supposed to be hungry for knowledge and finding that which is lost. That's where you're supposed to be at. But what happens is that when we're brought into Freemasonry and we get initiated, that it depends on who it is, it becomes that social club. It becomes that. And you no longer have the zeal for the organization, not just your organization, but for Freemasonry. See, when you're a Mason, you don't have a zeal just for your jurisdiction. You have a zeal for Freemasonry. Your attitude is not just for your jurisdiction. Your attitude is for Freemasonry abroad and locally. So when you get outside of your jurisdiction, you're not naive to the fact that there's other practices of Freemasonry that's out there besides your own. I remember visiting a jurisdiction and I was asked to, when you're a Mason, you go to the altar, when you're a visitor and you look and some say it's clear as a cloud or whatever it may be. I looked, I said, oh, it's cloudy. And the brother was like, Senior Deacon, attend the 3 great lights. Senior Deacon went up there and said, oh, it's clear. I was like, my first lesson upon visiting, just because that book that is upon that altar is not like yours, doesn't mean it's cloudy. Just because that book upon that altar is not open what you think it should be, doesn't mean it's cloudy. See, you're in a whole nother jurisdiction. And the way they do things is not necessarily the way that you do them. So sit back, relax, and enjoy the experience of being welcomed into a new jurisdiction or into a jurisdiction or a visitation, whatever it may be. Sit back, relax, and enjoy it. Watch and learn. And then once you do that, wherever you go now, you're not going to be so naive to say that it's wrong. You're not. Because Freemasonry, once again, brothers of the craft and sisters of the order, is bigger than where you at. The sisters may not be able to travel as much as brothers, but it's different. It's certainly different. What's up, Mount Zion Grand Lodge? How you holding, bro? How you holding? Hope everybody's doing well. It's about 1:08. We've been here about an hour and 8 minutes. I just sharing some of the ancient customs of Freemasonry, and I believe once again that it should feel like you, look like you, have some essence of you in your lodge. If your lodge has no essence of who you are as an organization within it, you might be in the wrong lodge. I'm just saying you might be. So my practices here under this jurisdiction for which I'm a member of is maybe different than that which you are in. We practice we have added more of an ancient African feel to it for us. That's the best way I could put it. For us, since we say we're ancient, free, and accepted, what makes it ancient? What makes it ancient? So we had to add that in for us. We had to bring in that for us, that which was lost for the ancients. Bring in the ancestors. Bring in the candles and the incense. Bring all of that in. And as you begin your opening ceremonies, what is the first thing that you do? You invoke. I'm going to leave it alone. But anyway, hey, take the 4 letters Yahweh in Hebrew, stand them up on the top of the other, and tell me what you see. Now, here you go. See, here you go. Now I'm finna pull it out. I got to go and pull out some paper and pens and do this real quick. Brother, I tell you, you funny. You funny, brother, simply. You funny. Let me see what he said. He said, all right, so I'm going to write down Yahweh. On the C, he said, doop, doop. So he says, take them out. 4 letters. Write it down in Hebrew, right? And then he says, stand them up and then stand them on one on the top of them. So write the letters over again on top of each other. Or is it upside down? Take these 4 letters in Hebrew, stand them up, one on top of them. So on top of each other, right? Upside down? Okay, let me see. Upside down. Am I looking at harem? Hmm. Okay. I'm gonna call you after tonight's show. God, man. He said God, man. Oh, wow. Blessing your lodge before you open. You sanctify and bless your altar. Kevin, Nearwood Bay, you need to stop. Brother Kevin Bay, you need to stop. You're doing too much. You're doing too much. So look, what the CV building? God body. Man. So look, I hope that you've enjoyed tonight's show, tonight's podcast, tonight's what I just want to hey, I appreciate each of you. I really, really do. Thank you for coming in and sharing your talents, sharing your time. One thing a person can give another person that can be returned and is precious than anything is time. And I thank you for it. So as we close out tonight, I just want to say thank you and I appreciate you. And remember this, the higher you climb, the clearer the vision. Stay at the bushes and keep your light on. I'm out. Peace and be well.